Hi, my name is Jim Walker. I'm a partner at Richards, KIBBE, and ORBE in New York City, and I'm coming to you from Princeton, New Jersey, my home and my home office, where I am working alongside my wife, who is teaching law school online, and my daughter, who is a senior in high school and completing her senior year online. My son remains in Providence, where he's completing his senior year at Brown online also. And so this is the situation in which we find ourselves. You've asked about some of the challenges that I've faced and that our firm has faced in connection with this COVID-19 pandemic. Well, I think the biggest challenge has been the absence of the in-person contact that was very much the mainstay of having everyone in an office, and particularly in a relatively smaller or mid-sized firm like mine. It's lovely to be able to stop by and chat with people for 5 to 10 minutes about whatever is happening in the case. Figure out next steps, and then move on to the next thing. With the pandemic, we have to plan conference calls and plan those sorts of communications. You can do certain things by email, but there are times you really do need to talk, and that's something that I've had to, that's been a real transition for all of us. I would also say that it has had a significant effect on my work as a litigator, because certainly the courts have remained operating, but they have shifted a lot of dates forward and moved things into the fall because of uncertainty about the pandemic. Certain things have remained, but other things have not. That has changed the way that I've looked at my April and May workload, and it's not like that's easily substituted with other work. So there's been a certain uncertainty and shift in the work. The other thing is interacting with clients. To the extent I have clients that I was contemplating bringing in for an interview or a deposition or something or similar, I've had to really think about whether or not it makes sense to do that when you're using a video conferencing software and they're appearing through a video conference. It's not the same thing as appearing in person. It requires a different sort of training and real thoughtfulness to make sure that your client is presenting themselves in the best way, or himself or herself in the best way, given that they need to know to focus on the camera as opposed to focusing on where a person appears on the screen, other little tips like that, because it can leave a misleading impression, and that's not serving the interests of my client. So that's been a real consideration. There definitely have been positives that have come from this experience. No question, I was so impressed by the ability of my firm, the administration, to adjust to the fact that we'd be working from remotely for an unclear period of time. They quickly adjusted. They made sure people were equipped. I can work seamlessly with my secretary on a daily basis. I can work seamlessly with everyone else on a daily basis. Everyone's really pitched in and stepped up to be able to do that, and I'm really impressed with my colleagues and with my firm in terms of its ability to do that. There are other things that have changed in terms of a lot of the outside activities in which I'm involved, where we now are operating by video conference. I appreciate that because that's a way of keeping in touch with people outside of the firm that I otherwise wouldn't be able to do. I appreciate the fact that they've actually been going fairly strong. It comes in a really important period of time for me because the pandemic and the lockdown happened to coincide with the period of March through May, when I tend to be very busy with conferences and dinners and meetings, and an ability to really reconnect with a lot of the colleagues I've worked with over the year who are sources of business, who are just good people to work with and to know, to nurture those relationships, to make new ones, and that ended up getting shut down because of all those conferences got canceled. The other thing that was sort of personal success for me was just setting up my home office, setting up a 2-monitor system with the assistance of YouTube, really implementing a desk that I actually designed myself some years ago but barely used, but it's actually turned into a really useful and functional workspace, and in some ways better than my office in New York City. I do suspect significant change coming out of this pandemic in terms of how we think about how we work and how we can really work effectively. I will note that one of the things I was going to do was to put on a panel in end of April, beginning of May, that dealt with the law firm of the future. Well, that material will change substantially because I think the law firm of the future is going to work more substantially from home, and we will need to adjust to that sort of way of working. It has implications for the way that we think about real estate, how we, the layout of law firms, the possibility of even considering rotating workspaces and desks, things like that that are affected by the possibility of working from home. It can affect where people are commuting from. It has a number of different effects. So that's been an interesting thing to start to think about. So one thing I would caution is that I have concerns about how this will affect diversity and inclusion efforts. My concern is out of sight. It means out of mind, particularly for diverse attorneys. I have some concern that that those attorneys will suffer from this experience because they will not have the same opportunity to be thought of by typically non-diverse management. And so I am making efforts to try to make sure that I educate people about that. That's something I tend to be involved in diversity and inclusion efforts, within the firm and outside the firm, and this is a particular issue that I'm going to be involved in now. In any event, I do appreciate, again, the European American Chamber of Commerce for presenting this opportunity to do this video, and appreciate you for listening. I look forward to doing business with everyone in the future in this, what will be a brave new world, and hope that everyone stays safe. Thank you.